Every rose you have ever admired once began as nothing more than a tiny cutting and a little bit of patience. And today, I am going to show you a trick that almost nobody knows, a trick so simple that you probably already have everything you need. Sitting quietly in your kitchen right now, stay with me until the end, because the final step is the one that makes all the difference between a cutting that dies and a cutting that grows into a full rose bush. Let's begin with choosing the right branch, because this is where everything starts. Pick a healthy rose stem that is not too young and not too old, one that bends slightly but does not snap easily, because this is the stage where the branch still holds enough natural strength to form new roots. Remove all the flowers and any flower buds from the stem, because if you leave them on, the branch will spend all its energy trying to bloom instead of trying to root, and a cutting that blooms too early almost always dies before it ever grows roots. Once the flowers are removed, cut the branch into sections of about 15 to 20 centimeters long, and make sure every single piece has at least 2 or 3 leaf nodes, because those small swollen points on the stem are where the new roots and the new shoots will eventually emerge. Keep 2 or 3 leaves at the very top of each cutting so the branch can still breathe and photosynthesize a little, but strip away every leaf from the lower half, because leaves left underground or underwater will simply rot and invite bacteria that can kill the whole cutting. Cut the base of each piece at a clean 45-degree angle, because this angled cut exposes more of the internal tissue of the stem, and that internal tissue is exactly where the rooting process begins, so a wider surface means faster and stronger rooting later on. Take your time with this step, because a clean cut heals faster, and a messy torn cut invites disease. And once you have all your cuttings prepared this way, set them aside gently on a clean surface, ready for the real secret that is coming next. Before we go further, if you are enjoying this natural approach to growing roses, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel, because there are so many more simple tricks like this one waiting for you, and your support helps this kind of natural knowledge reach more people who love gardening just like you do. Now here comes the part that almost nobody talks about, the simple trick hiding in plain sight. Instead of expensive rooting powders or complicated chemical hormones, we are going to use pure raw honey. Honey is not just a sweetener sitting in your kitchen cabinet, it is actually one of nature's most powerful natural antiseptics, and it contains enzymes and trace compounds that behave in a way similar to natural growth stimulants. When applied to a fresh-cut stem, honey forms a thin protective layer over the exposed tissue, sealing it from harmful bacteria and fungus that usually attack an open wound, while at the same time keeping the internal moisture of the stem locked in so it does not dry out during the most fragile first days. This is exactly why old generations of gardeners, long before modern rooting hormones existed, quietly relied on a spoon of honey to help their cuttings survive. And yet today, almost nobody remembers this simple method. Take a small bowl and add 2 full tablespoons of raw honey, then add just a few drops of warm water to loosen it slightly so it becomes easier to coat the stem evenly. Dip the cut end of each rose branch directly into this honey mixture, making sure the base and the surrounding 2 to 3 centimeters of stem are fully coated in a thin golden layer. Let the cutting sit in the honey for about 15 to 20 minutes so the enzymes have enough time to soak slightly into the outer bark of the stem. And while you wait, we are going to prepare the second half of this secret trick. Take 1 clean cinnamon stick or 2 teaspoons of pure cinnamon powder, because cinnamon is not just a kitchen spice, it is a natural fungicide, meaning it protects delicate cuttings from the mold and fungal infections that are the #1 cause of cutting failure in humid environments. Lightly dust the honey-coated base of each cutting with the cinnamon powder so it sticks to the sticky honey layer, forming a natural protective shield around the wound. This simple combination of honey and cinnamon works together in a beautiful way. The honey feeds and seals while the cinnamon protects and defends, and together they create the perfect natural environment for a rose cutting to begin forming roots safely without rotting. While your cuttings rest in this natural coating, let's prepare the growing medium. Choose a soil mix that is loose, light, and well-draining, because rose roots hate sitting in heavy waterlogged soil. A good simple mix is 1 part regular garden soil, 1 part clean coarse sand, and 1 part coconut coir or well-aged compost. This combination allows air to reach the roots while still holding just enough moisture to keep the cutting hydrated. Fill small pots or plastic cups with drainage holes punched into the bottom and gently pack the soil down evenly, making sure there are no large air pockets that could cause the cutting to lean or wobble once it is planted. Using a pencil or a chopstick, poke a hole into the center of the soil about 5 centimeters deep because this prevents the delicate honey and cinnamon coating from being scraped off when you insert the stem directly into the soil. Now gently take each honey and cinnamon-coated cutting and place it carefully into the hole you created, pressing the soil firmly around the base so the stem stands upright and steady. Make sure at least one leaf node sits just below the soil surface, since this is the exact point where new roots will begin to emerge in the coming days, and make sure another leaf node remains just above the surface because this is where the new green shoot will eventually appear. Water the soil gently right after planting, just enough to settle the soil around the stem, but be careful not to soak it completely because too much water at this early stage can wash away the delicate honey coating before it has done its job. To give your cuttings the best possible start, we are now going to create a simple humidity chamber using nothing but a clear plastic bottle. Take an empty clear plastic bottle, cut off the bottom, and place it upside down over each planted cutting like a small transparent dome. This traps humidity around the cutting, mimicking the same greenhouse effect that professional nurseries use, keeping the air moist and warm without letting the cutting dry out in open air. Leave the cap off the top of the bottle for just a little bit of airflow, because a completely sealed environment can sometimes trap too much moisture and encourage mold. And remember, the cinnamon we applied earlier is already helping to guard against that risk as well. Place your pots in a bright area that receives only indirect light, somewhere the cutting will not be exposed to harsh, direct sunlight, because at this early stage the plant has no roots yet to draw up water, and direct sun will cause it to lose moisture faster than it can survive. Check on your cuttings every day, misting the soil surface lightly whenever it starts to feel dry to the touch, keeping the environment consistently moist but never soggy. Within the first 7 to 10 days, you likely will not see much happening above the soil, and this is completely normal because the real transformation during this stage is happening quietly beneath the surface where you cannot see it. The honey is still protecting the wound, the cinnamon is still guarding against fungus, and inside the stem, cells are slowly beginning to divide and multiply, forming the very first microscopic root structures. Around day 10 to 15, you will begin to notice the first small signs of life. A tiny bud near the top leaf node will start to swell slightly, and if you look closely, you might notice the stem itself looking a little firmer and more vibrant than when you first planted it, no longer looking dull or slightly wilted the way a fresh cutting normally does. This is one of the clearest signs that root formation has successfully begun beneath the soil, because a cutting that is dying will usually look increasingly dry and shriveled, while a cutting that is rooting successfully will actually start to look fuller and more alive with each passing day. Once you start to see that small bud swelling and the first hint of green beginning to peek through, it is time to introduce a natural feeding routine to support the young roots as they continue developing. For this, we are going to use one more simple ingredient almost nobody thinks to use: banana peels. Take 2 ripe banana peels and chop them into small pieces, then place them into a clean jar filled with about 500 milliliters of water. Let this mixture sit for 2 full days at room temperature, allowing the natural potassium, phosphorus, and other trace minerals inside the banana peel to slowly release into the water. Banana peels are incredibly rich in the exact nutrients that young rose roots need most in these early stages, particularly potassium, which plays an enormous role in strengthening root systems and improving overall plant resilience. After 2 days, strain out the banana peel pieces and pour the remaining nutrient-rich water into a spray bottle. Once a day, lightly mist this banana peel water directly onto the soil surface around your cuttings, being careful not to oversaturate the soil, just enough to keep it moist while also delivering this gentle boost of natural nutrition straight to the developing root zone. Continue this daily routine of misting with the banana peel water while keeping the plastic bottle dome in place, only removing it briefly each day for a few minutes to allow fresh air to circulate before placing it back over the cutting. As you move into day 15 to 20, you should begin to see much clearer signs of growth. The small bud that was swelling earlier will now begin to unfurl into a tiny new leaf, soft and slightly reddish in color at first, the way new rose growth typically appears before it hardens into the familiar deep green. This new leaf growth is one of the most reassuring signs in the entire process because a cutting simply cannot produce new leaf growth unless there is already a functioning root system below the surface actively drawing up water and nutrients to support that new growth above. Around this same time, you can very gently and carefully check the root development without disturbing the cutting too much. Using 2 fingers, gently push aside just a small amount of soil near the base of the stem, just enough to peek at what is happening beneath the surface without pulling the cutting out completely. If everything has gone well, you will begin to see the first delicate white root hairs branching out from the base of the stem, right around the area where you originally applied that honey and cinnamon coating. These roots will look thin, pale, and almost fragile at this stage, but do not be fooled, because these small white threads are exactly what will grow into the strong root system that supports the entire rose bush for years to come. Gently push the soil back into place after checking, taking care not to damage these delicate new roots, and continue with your daily misting routine. By the time you reach day 25 to 30, the transformation becomes truly undeniable. The new leaves at the top of the cutting will have opened up fully, displaying that classic vibrant rose-green color, and you may even notice a second or third leaf beginning to form alongside the first. The stem itself will feel noticeably firmer and more rigid when you touch it gently, no longer soft or flexible the way it was on the very first day you planted it. This firmness is a direct result of the root system below actively transporting water and nutrients upward, strengthening the entire structure of the plant from the inside out. At this stage, you can begin to remove the plastic bottle dome for longer periods each day, slowly acclimating the young plant to the open air, until eventually it no longer needs the dome at all and can sit comfortably in indirect light throughout the entire day. Once your cutting has reached this point, with healthy new leaf growth and a noticeably strengthened stem, it is time to prepare for the final and most exciting step, transferring the young rose plant into a proper pot where it will have room to truly flourish. Choose a pot that is only slightly larger than the small container your cutting has been growing in, because moving a young rose into an oversized pot too early can actually slow its growth, as the plant will spend more energy trying to establish itself in all that extra soil rather than focusing on strong upward growth. Fill the new pot with a rich, well-draining soil mix, similar to the one we used earlier, but perhaps with a little extra compost added in to give the young plant an additional boost of nutrients as it enters this next stage of its life. Very gently remove the cutting from its original container, taking great care to keep as much of the surrounding soil intact around the root ball as possible, since disturbing the delicate new roots at this stage can shock the plant and slow its progress. Place the cutting into the center of the new pot at the same depth it was growing at before, then fill in around it with soil, gently pressing down to remove any large air pockets while still leaving the soil loose enough for continued root expansion. Water the newly transplanted rose thoroughly but gently, allowing any excess water to drain freely from the bottom of the pot, and place it somewhere it will receive gradually increasing amounts of sunlight over the following week, slowly building up its tolerance until it can eventually handle several hours of direct morning sunlight each day. From this point forward, your young rose plant will continue to grow steadily stronger with each passing week. Continue watering regularly, allowing the soil to dry slightly between waterings rather than keeping it constantly wet, since consistently overwatered soil is one of the most common reasons young rose plants struggle even after successfully rooting. You can continue occasionally feeding your plant with diluted banana peel water once or twice a week for the first couple of months, giving it that gentle, continuous source of natural potassium and trace minerals as it establishes itself in its new home. Within just a few more months, what began as a single small cutting coated in nothing more than honey and cinnamon will have transformed into a genuinely established young rose bush, complete with multiple healthy stems and leaves, well on its way toward producing its very first blooms. What makes this particular method so remarkable is not just how effective it is, but how incredibly simple and accessible it is for absolutely anyone. There is no need for expensive rooting hormone powders purchased from specialty garden stores, no complicated equipment, and no rare ingredients that are difficult to find. Everything used in this entire process, from the honey and cinnamon that protect and seal the cutting, to the banana peels that feed the developing roots, to the simple plastic bottle that creates the perfect humid environment, all of it can be found in almost any kitchen around the world. This is exactly why this trick has quietly been passed down through generations of home gardeners, even as modern gardening trends have shifted toward more commercial and chemical-based solutions. And it is exactly why so few people today even realize just how powerful these simple natural ingredients truly are when used together in the right way at the right time. If you found this method helpful, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with anyone you know who loves roses or gardening in general. Because the more people who learn about these simple natural tricks, the more beautiful gardens we can help create together all around the world. I would love to hear from you in the comments below, so please let me know which country you are watching from, and if you try this honey and cinnamon method for yourself, come back and share how it worked out for you, because hearing your results is always the most rewarding part of sharing these videos. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end, and I will see you again very soon in the next video, where we will continue exploring more simple, natural, and surprisingly effective ways to grow and care for the roses you love.